A big hello to our Highlights Foundation family. We're so happy to have you here with us. For those that may not know me, I'm Cat Galeano. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the social media manager at the Highlights Foundation, joining you from Westchester, New York, on the traditional lands of the Siwanoy people. Apart from all the fun things I get to do at the Highlights Foundation, I am also a writer myself and a reader, so I am very excited to welcome our friends and faculty, Crystal Allen and Katie Keridan. They will be teaching the two-night mini, writing about mental health for middle grade and young adult readers. A two-night mini on April 2nd and 4th, aka next week, so make sure to sign up. But before we dive in, I just want to remind our viewers that joining in any Highlights Foundation sessions to do so with no hate, no harm, and no harassment of any kind. And now let's get started. So for my first question, I will let you kind of decide amongst yourselves which person wants to answer first. But what I most loved is this description line that we had on the website. It says, writing about mental health topics in youth literature can come from a place of both support and empowerment. What's an example, either from your work or something you've read recently, that you think did a good job on both these things?
Crystal, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. And I'm so glad to be hanging out with you again, Katie.
I feel the same way. I'm
So let me just change the wording a little bit
Sure.
here, Kat, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because when I think of the two words support and empowerment, I think of hope and healing. So to me, support is the hope that you're giving to someone who, when you're working with mental health topics in your story and in real life, actually. And empowerment is where the healing comes. So when you put those two together, then you're able to show a true picture of someone who is working through a mental health issue or is carrying one. So in my story, the support actually came from family and friends and the community, which helped my main character help his brother. He empowered himself by trying to deal with his mental health topic, which is actually shyness. To deal with that and to realize that his brother needed him to speak out. He empowered himself, and then also in doing that, he empowered his brother. So those two things are really important when it comes to working with mental health topics. So, what do you think, Katie?
I could not agree more. I love the idea of hope and healing, because for me, when I started the YA trilogy that I'm 2 books into, I didn't want to take the more conventional route of, okay, my protagonists fall in love, they meet their soulmate, and now all their mental health issues are gone. Poof, everything has disappeared. They don't struggle with anything anymore, because that's not real life.
It's not.
It's not.
Life. So for me, the hope and the healing piece, especially my male main character, Sebastian, he has a very, very traumatic background. And as a result of this, he has a very difficult time trusting people, opening up to people. He has terrible night terrors and nightmares. He's scared to share a bed with anyone because he's afraid he's going to wake up in the middle of the night screaming. And what is person gonna think when they wake up next to someone who's screaming in the middle of the night? And so his journey, once he finds his soulmate, that's the beginning of his healing and his hope. And he realizes that he has the ability to make the changes that he wants that are better for him, not because someone is saying this is how you need to be, but because wants to become as a person. And like you said, Crystal, he's able to do that because of the people that are around him. The power's always been inside of him. He just didn't know how to access it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the message we really want to give with this, is that there is hope and there is healing, and it's done in community, coming from yourself.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that is so special. I'm just like typing away over here, like trying to hope and healing. I'm like, if you see a graphic with that wording for the promotion, you heard it here first, because that is so special. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. Now we have to jump into our second question, even though I'm still on hope and healing, because that was so moving. My second question is, what is a basic example of a consideration that writers should take in writing around this topic, even when their stories don't completely center on mental health themes? For example, maybe they're writing a secondary character versus a main character, or a particular scene in the larger context of their novel. And do these considerations differ?
Okay, you want to start, Katie, or I can? Does it?
I'll jump in with this one.
Okay.
I think for me, whether you're focusing on a main character with mental health challenges, or you're focusing on a secondary character or a particular scene, take it seriously. Take it very seriously. Because whether the entire book is about mental health or there's just a section in it, that may be someone's first or exposure to a mental health challenge that this particular reader has come across. And it's our responsibility as authors to portray mental health challenges as accurately and to take it as seriously as possible. Not only because someone reading our work might personally be impacted or affected by that, but there might be someone who reads it and goes, there's a person like that in my class. And I never thought about that this is what it's like for them before. Wow, maybe there's a different way I can reach out to them or try to connect with them. So for me, it's not about how much space the mental health is taking up in your book. I take it just as seriously, whether it's the main focus or a small piece, because to do anything less is an injustice to my readers, I believe. And to me, I also always try to write my secondary characters thinking that they're the main character in the book. It gives them personality. It makes them jump and come alive on the page. And so I think it's so important, because you never know what reader is going to connect with which character. And taking it seriously and really coming from a place of authenticity is huge. And I would highly encourage authors to really consider that when they're creating these characters and these stories.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Katie, that was amazing. And it's so much truth there. You're so spot on with that. And I just wanted to add, as you are creating and taking in consideration, please do not forget culture.
Yes.
Do not forget identities. Uh, Even though mental health manifests in so many different ways, with so many different people, culture is so important, because there are just different ways that cultures deal with mental health issues. For instance, when my son obtained an anoxic brain injury, it immediately sent me into a different world. He was no longer on a straight path like my oldest son. He was now in a different world of people with autism and people with um, brain injuries. And it was like square pegs trying to fit in a round hole. And so I was trying to understand this world. But what I noticed was there were not many Black people outside coming into different places, exposing those with mental health issues to the public. And as I continued to bring my son out into the open so he could re-experience things, my people weren't out there as much. And I began to look into my own culture and into other cultures to see how they were dealing with mental health issues. This is vital when you are trying to write, or if you choose to write about someone with mental health issues. Know the culture. Don't just know the mental health topic, which is incredibly important, but it is also important to know the culture that you're writing about.
Yeah, I love that you both touched on just like sort of the research phase that goes into um, deciding to write a story like this or an element in your story of this magnitude, whether it be researching mental health specifically or the culture of your character. So I really love that you both touched on that because that is so important. And also, how lucky are we that there are so many stories now that exist like this, and that people, like Katie, you touched on, like you're reading a story and perhaps you never realized your classmate maybe was like that, or even you as a young adult or a middle schooler thinking, oh wait, what, huh. So like the level of care and research that goes into these stories is so important because truly we are changing lives.
Yeah.
So to kind of put that big word out there, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
really happy to hear that you're both saying that, and how awesome is that these books exist in the world now. Um, and our last question already, which I'm sad because I'm like, I could hang out with both of you forever. I'm loving the fact that I get to talk to faculty like right before their lives. I mean, right before their minis and their courses, because I'm like, oh, this is so fun. Like, it just kind of like a little party. So I'm so
Yes,
honored to be able to
it's
hang out with
fun.
you. So our third question is, because we were talking about mental health and like that can be sort of a heavy subject when you're writing and researching and rereading, um, do you have an example of a self-care method you use when you're going in to write these big scenes that help you care for the reader too?
Mm. Crystal, you want to take that
Well,
one?
thanks a lot, Katie. But I will.
Very.
I've been blessed with humor, and it is a gift, and I know that it is. My sister wasn't, but I was. And when I'm writing, it is important that when I'm writing a big scene, Cat, I need to know where I am going to let my reader exhale,
Hmm.
where I'm going to let my
Wow.
character exhale.
Oof.
Yeah.
And these are things that I set up before I start writing the big scene. Because, for instance, with Between Two Brothers, there were a lot of them. I had a lot of big scenes that were making me spiral because many of them came from my own truth. And so, as I prepared myself to write these scenes, I also had to remember my reader and my character are going to need opportunities to exhale, to breathe, to enter into the next phase of the story, and me too. So, where am I going to put those examples? Where am I going to put those possibilities to breathe? And I think about those before I get into the big scene, or else I won't get it finished.
Hmm.
I won't be able to exhale myself. So I make sure that I'm not only thinking about those big scenes, but I'm thinking about how I'm going to bring my reader to the next phase or the next page or the next scene. For me, that is just so important for self-care for not just me and not just my character, but also especially for my reader. What about you, Katie?
Wow.
Oh.
I don't want to follow up after that because that was so good. I love that. I'm just,
That's
oh,
what you get for letting me go first.
never again. No, I think there's so much there. We could spend 30 minutes just talking about that. I love it. Um, it's so true. This is something we're going to get into more in the workshop, talking about kind of what is the character and what parts of you are you putting into. And I know for myself, there's a lot that I do pull from my own mental health challenges and experiences. And it may not translate directly onto the page, but it's coming from an authentic place of personal experience and truth. And in order to access that, I really have to kind of beware of how I'm spending my time when I'm that kind of a section. I've learned that I really have to communicate with my husband when I'm in the middle of writing really heavy, scenes or revisiting things that I know might trigger things to come back up within myself. And I didn't know that as a baby writer when I first started out. You're just hacking away and everything, and then you're in your head and something goes wrong and you're snapping at someone and you kind of don't know why or where that's coming from. And so becoming aware of my own process as I go into writing these types of things helps me be more present. It helps me be authentic, and that better allows me to communicate on the page what I want to get across to the reader so that they feel that and can learn and grow and feel seen in the book. And then I think equally taking care of myself afterwards, knowing that after I've written something where it feels like you've just poured your soul out onto this paper, I need some alone time. So I'll go out in nature, I'll sit by the creek, I'll get off social media, I won't be looking at my phone, and just kind of grounding myself and being present and being able to recognize where I was, where I've been, how I've grown. I'm not there anymore, thank goodness, but I can take those lessons and keep moving and sharing. And so it's kind of a wraparound process for me as I'm writing these things. And the better of a position I'm in as I do that, the better service I can do for the reader.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the things you shared about how to connect to the scene and then how to disconnect, I think it's so important to share that process with people, because there are tough things that you're writing, and you need to take care of yourself so that way you can share that piece for our readers. And I love that visual, what Crystal said about the exhaling, because oh my gosh, that I like so vividly remember just like reading things and just like needing to pause. So the fact that you're thinking about that is, like it gave me chills. Like I'm like, oh wow, because it is important. You do need to have that breathing room when you're writing something that's so heavy.
Yeah.
You did.
But yeah, we already got a question when it said, when is the mini starting? So that's exactly what I'm going to mention next. Thank you for prematurely asking. So now, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Just that we're so excited about offering this mini, and the types of things we talked about here today are just a taste of what we're going to dive into next week. And we can't wait to share this.
So excited. I'm so excited.
I'm so sad I won't be the person monitoring this class, but like I've said before, I'm going to have to also watch this one on my free time, because there's no way I'm missing these two powerhouses teaching together. If you would like to learn more from Crystal and Katie, please make sure to join them next week in Writing About Mental Health for Middle Grade and Young Adult Readers, a 2-night mini on April 2nd and 4th, which wildly enough is next week already. You can register on our website at highlightsfoundation.org or click the link in our bio. And lastly, you can purchase Crystal and Katie's books at our virtual bookshop powered by bookshop.org. Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining me today. And we can't wait to see you online.
I am so excited.
You better sign up, people. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
And
Bye-bye.
Bye.